Hey viewers, you're watching The Savera and I'm Vidhi Joshi. US President Donald Trump has insisted that the ceasefire in Gaza remains in place, even after a wave of Israel airstrikes rocked the territory in response to what Israel called blatant violations by Hamas. Speaking to the reporters aboard Air Force One, Donald Trump said, "Yeah, it is," when asked if the truce was still active. He suggested that rogue fighters, not Hamas leadership, may have been responsible for the latest violence, saying, "We want to make sure that it's going to be very peaceful with Hamas. They have been quite rambunctious, and we think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that. But either way, it's going to be handled properly." The renewed violence began when the Israel Defense Forces reported that Hamas militants fired an anti-tank missile and opened fire on Israel troops operating in Rafah, killing 2 soldiers, Major Yaniv Kula and Staff Sergeant Italy Yaavitz. The IDF said that the troops were dismantling terror infrastructure under the terms of the ceasefire when they were attacked. In response, Israel launched a series of airstrikes across Gaza, targeting what it described as Hamas-linked sites, including weapons depots, rocket launch positions, militant cells, and 6 kilometers of underground tunnels. The IDF said that it used over 120 munitions during the operation and ensured to respond firmly to any further breaches. Following the strikes, Israel announced that it had renewed enforcement of the ceasefire agreement, claiming it remained committed to the truce but would continue military action if provoked. The IDF will continue to uphold the ceasefire agreement and will respond firmly to any violation of it, the military stated. Gaza's authorities paint a different picture. The Civil Defense Agency, operating under Hamas, said that at least 45 Palestinians were killed in the Israel strikes on Sunday alone, when International News Agency, citing hospital sources, put the figure at 42. The Gaza Media Office reported that 97 people have been killed and 230 injured since the ceasefire was enacted on October 10. They accused Israel of committing 80 violations of the truce and international humanitarian law. Hamas, while denying involvement in the Rafah incident, warned that continued Israel aggression could lead to a total collapse of the agreement. Vice President J.D. Vance downplayed the escalation, describing it as part of the fits and starts, typical in any fragile truce. Hamas is going to fire on Israel. Israel is going to have to respond, he said. Vance also emphasized that regional cooperation would be vital to long-term peace and urged Gulf Arab countries to establish security mechanisms in order to ensure Hamas is disarmed. He said a senior US official would travel to Israel in the coming days in order to monitor the situation, possibly himself. Meanwhile, international media continue to face excess restriction as Israel does not permit foreign journalists to report freely from Gaza. With both the sides accusing each other of violations and casualties mounting, the future of the US brokered ceasefire remains deeply uncertain.
Well, we're going to have to see what's happening. We want to make sure that it's going to be very peaceful with Hamas. And as you know, they've been quite rambunctious. They've been doing some shooting, and we think maybe the leadership isn't involved in that. Some rebels within, but either way, it's going to be handled properly. It's going to be handled toughly, but properly.
Is the ceasefire still in place?
Yeah, it is.